Alien girl stole food from same human every day for her sick mother. He knew Sci-Fi HFY story. The station drifted in silence around the red star, its metal skin tired and scarred from years of work. Inside, thousands of beings lived close together, sharing air, heat, and fear. Food was counted carefully. Every meal mattered. On this station, stealing was not a small crime. It could end a life. Evan walked the long corridor toward the cargo docks with a food pack in his hand. He had worked the docks for 6 years, long enough to know every sound the station made. The low hum under his boots told him the gravity plates were old. The flickering lights told him power was being saved. Everyone felt the pressure. Supplies from the inner systems were late again. He stopped near a quiet junction and sat on a metal crate. This was where he always ate. He opened his pack and frowned. The bread strip was gone, again. This was the fourth time this cycle. Evan did not shout. He did not report it. He just closed the pack slowly and looked down the hall. People passed by, different shapes and colors, some human, some not. No one looked at him. No one cared. At first he thought it was rats or service drones, but drones did not take bread and leave the rest, and rats did not move so cleanly. He waited. Minutes passed. The station lights dimmed slightly as the power cycle shifted. Then he heard it. Soft steps, too light for an adult, too careful for a worker. A small figure moved near the wall, almost part of the shadow. Evan stayed still, his heart slow but alert. The figure reached the crate beside him and froze. She was small, thinner than she should have been. Her skin was pale blue-gray, stretched tight over sharp bones. Large eyes blinked once, twice, glowing faintly in the low light. She stared at Evan, fear pouring off her like heat. Neither moved. Then she grabbed the food pack and ran. Evan stood up fast, almost knocking over the crate. He did not think. He just followed. She was quick, faster than he expected. She darted through side halls, slipped between pipes, and vanished through a narrow service door. Evan reached it just as it slid shut. He stopped, breathing hard. That door led to the old maintenance tunnels. They were dark, unsafe, and mostly abandoned. People said bad things lived there. People said a lot of things. Evan rested his hand on the door control, then pulled it back. Chasing her now would bring attention. Cameras still worked in some areas. Security drones passed by without warning. He turned away. That night, lying on his bunk, Evan could not sleep. He kept seeing her eyes, not greedy, not cruel, just scared. The next day, he brought 2 food packs. He sat in the same place and waited. He made no effort to hide the extra pack. He pretended to read a worn data slate, but his eyes watched the reflection in the metal wall. She came again. This time she did not run right away. She paused, watching him. Her hands shook as she reached for the pack. When Evan did not move, she grabbed it and backed away slowly. She said something then, a sound soft and broken. He did not understand the words, but he understood the meaning. Thanks. Then she disappeared into the tunnels. Evan did not follow. Over the next days, the pattern continued. Evan brought extra food. The girl took it. Sometimes she left a small object behind, a twisted wire, a broken token, nothing of value, payment in her mind. Others began to notice. Whispers moved through the station like cold air. Someone was stealing food. Supplies were already low. Anger grew fast. Security announcements echoed through the halls. Stealing would be punished. Anyone caught would be removed from the station. Removed meant spaced. Evan stood near the docks when he heard 2 guards talking. An alien kid, one said, small, been seen near the old ring. They don't belong here, the other replied. Parasites. Evan walked away before they could see his face. That evening he followed her. He kept his distance, careful where he stepped. The tunnels smelled of rust and old coolant. Water dripped from the ceiling. The lights barely worked. She moved like she had lived there her whole life. They reached a sealed hatch marked with warning signs faded by time. Radiation zone, unsafe habitat. She opened it. Inside was worse than he imagined. The air was thin and cold. Old blankets hung from broken frames. A weak lamp glowed in the corner. On a narrow platform lay another figure, larger, barely breathing, her mother. The woman's chest rose and fell slowly. Her skin was dull, cracked. Her eyes were closed, but her mouth moved as if trying to speak. Empty food packs lay nearby, scraped clean. The girl knelt beside her and pressed the bread strip into her hand. Evan felt something twist inside him. He backed away before they could see him. As he turned, a sharp beam of light cut through the tunnel. Security drones, voices echoed, search teams moving in, orders shouted. Evan pressed himself into the shadows, heart pounding. Down the tunnel, the girl looked up. Their eyes met, and the alarms grew louder. The alarms did not last long, but the fear they left behind stayed. When the lights returned to normal, Evan was already far from the tunnels. He walked with the flow of workers, head down, breathing slow. No one stopped him. No one looked twice. That night, security patrols doubled. Drones hovered at junctions. Guards checked packs and badges more often. The station felt smaller, tighter, like it was closing its hands around everyone living inside. Evan lay awake, staring at the ceiling of his bunk. The image of the sick woman on the platform would not leave his mind. He thought of the girl's thin arms, the careful way she fed her mother before herself. She had not asked for help. She had only taken what she needed to keep someone alive. In the morning, Evan made a choice. He adjusted his work request forms, spreading his food allowance across different supply points. It was not much, but it was enough. He wrapped the extra packs in cloth and hid them inside a tool container marked for hull repair. No one checked those closely. No one wanted extra work. The path to the old tunnels was more dangerous now. Evan waited until the station shifted into rest cycle. Fewer people moved then. He slipped away from the main corridors and into the narrow service halls. The hatch was still there. The warning sign still faded. Inside, the air felt colder than before. The girl was sitting beside her mother, holding her hand. She looked up when Evan stepped into the weak light. Her body tensed, ready to run or scream. He raised his hand slowly and set the tool container on the floor. He opened it and pushed the food toward her. She stared at it, then at him. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. He spoke softly, using simple words, pointing to himself, then to the food, then to the woman on the platform. He did not know her language, but he knew kindness had one sound. She moved forward at last and took the packs. Her hands shook so badly that one fell to the floor. Evan picked it up and placed it gently beside her. The sick woman's eyes opened. They were cloudy but aware. She looked at Evan for a long moment, then tried to sit up. Pain crossed her face. "No," Evan said quietly, stepping back. The woman spoke then. Her voice was rough and weak, the words slow. Evan understood nothing, but the tone was clear. Fear mixed with gratitude. A question. He nodded. The girl watched everything closely, ready to react if he moved wrong. She did not relax until he stepped back toward the door. He left without another word. Days passed. Evan returned again and again, sometimes with food, sometimes with clean water or cloth, once with medicine taken from an expired supply crate no one bothered to lock. Each visit was a risk. Security tightened its grip. Posters appeared on the walls showing a rough image of a small alien figure. Information wanted, rewards offered, anger spread. At a meal station, Evan heard shouting. A worker accused another of stealing. Fists flew. Guards dragged both away. "They will find it," someone said nearby. "They always do." Evan said nothing. The sick woman grew stronger slowly. She could sit up now. She spoke more, though Evan still could not understand her words. But he learned her eyes, the way they softened when she looked at her daughter. He learned the girl's name was Lyra, from the way her mother said it again and again. Lyra began to trust him. She waited for him now, watching the tunnel entrance. Once she pressed a small metal charm into his hand. It was warm, worn smooth by time. He gave it back. Keep it, he said, her eyes filled with something bright and dangerous. One evening, Evan stayed too long. He was helping adjust the lamp when footsteps echoed from the tunnel. Not light steps, heavy boots. Lyra froze, voices followed, two guards talking low. Evan moved without thinking. He pulled the lamp's power cell free, plunging the room into darkness. He pressed himself against the wall, holding his breath. Light beams swept across the space. Nothing here, one guard said. Radiation readings are low, the other replied. Could be deeper. They moved on. Evan waited until the silence returned before restoring the light. Lyra was shaking. Her mother had fainted. He knew then that hiding was not enough. The station could not keep them safe. The next day, a guard stopped Evan near the docks. "Name's Hale," the man said, scanning Evan's badge. "You've been moving around a lot lately." "Just work," Evan replied. Hale's eyes stayed on him longer than needed. "Careful where you go," he said. "Some places aren't meant for saving." That night, Evan stood in the tunnel, listening to the distant hum of the station. He had to act soon, because next time security would not pass by, and Lyra would not get another chance. The station felt different now. Evan noticed it the moment he stepped out of his sleeping block. Conversations stopped when guards passed. Drones hovered longer than before. Even the air felt heavy, like everyone was holding their breath. Hale's warning echoed in Evan's mind. Careful where you go. Evan kept his routine steady. Same shifts, same paths, no sudden moves. He knew suspicion grew fastest around change. Still, every time he turned a corner, he expected to see guards waiting. In the tunnels, Lyra sensed it too. She watched the entrance more than her mother now. Her body stayed tense, ready to run. The sick woman sat upright most days, but her breathing was still shallow, her strength borrowed, not earned. Evan brought a small medical scanner on his next visit. Old, scratched, but working. He used it quietly while Lyra stood close, ready to pull him away if needed. The readings were bad. He did not show it on his face. He pointed to the woman's chest and made a slow downward motion with his hand. Lyra understood enough. Her eyes darkened. The woman spoke, her voice firmer now. She reached for Evan's wrist. Her grip was weak, but her intent was clear. She did not want him risking himself anymore. Evan shook his head. He left more medicine than before. On his way out, he noticed something new in the tunnel. A small sensor node, freshly placed, its light barely visible. Security was closing in. At the docks, a fight broke out near the loading bays. Workers shouted about missing rations. Someone accused an alien crew member. Guards moved fast, pulling weapons. Evan stepped back, heart pounding. He saw how quickly fear turned into hate. That evening, a station-wide message played on every screen. Commands spoke of safety and order. Illegal inhabitants would be removed. Anyone helping them would face the same fate. Removed. Evan returned to the tunnels under the cover of a power fluctuation. The lights dimmed. The drones drifted back to charging stations. Inside, Lyra was pacing. She pointed at the tunnel walls, then made a sharp slicing motion across her neck. She had seen the sensors. She knew what they meant. Evan knelt in front of her and spoke slowly. He pointed upward toward the main station ring, then traced a path with his finger. He mimed opening a door, then stepping through. "Leave," he said. Lyra stared at him. Her mother listened quietly. When Evan finished, the woman shook her head. She spoke with force now, her words sharp. She pointed at herself, then at the dark corners of the room. She would not survive the move. Evan felt the truth of it settle in his chest like weight. He sat with them for a long time, saying nothing. When he left, the tunnel felt colder than ever. The next cycle, Evan noticed Hale watching him from across the dock floor. Not openly. Not enough to call out. Just enough to remind Evan he was not invisible. Evan made a mistake that day. He skipped his usual rest break and went to a supply terminal instead. He requested additional medical gel, marking it for structural injuries. The system accepted it, but the delay flagged the request. Hale appeared before Evan could leave. That's a lot of medical gel for a dock worker, Hale said calmly. Evan met his eyes. Hull accident last week, he replied. Orders coming. Hale studied his face, then scanned the container. His expression did not change. Be careful, Hale said again, stepping aside. That night, Hale reviewed station logs. Evan did not know that. In the tunnels, Lyra's mother grew worse. Her skin burned with fever. Her breaths came in short pulls. Lyra pressed cloth to her forehead, whispering soft sounds, rocking slightly. Evan used the gel, knowing it was not enough. The woman woke briefly. She looked at Evan and spoke slowly, clearly, as if making sure he understood even without knowing the words. She touched his chest, then her daughter's. Do not choose us over yourself. Evan closed his eyes. Above them, the station shifted. A warning tremor passed through the walls, lights flickered. A low alarm sounded, then stopped. Maintenance fault, a distant voice announced. But Evan knew better. Someone had damaged the reactor feeds. Security flooded the corridors. This time it was not about food. This time it was about survival. Evan realized the danger and the chance at the same moment. Chaos could hide movement. He spoke fast, urgent. He pointed to the woman, then to the tunnels beyond, then made a lifting motion. Lyra hesitated. Another tremor shook the walls. Dust fell from the ceiling. Lyra nodded. Together they lifted her mother onto a makeshift carrier made from pipes and cloth. The woman groaned but did not resist. They moved slowly, carefully, deeper into the tunnels, toward an old access route Evan had seen on station maps. A forgotten path leading close to the emergency bays. The alarms grew louder. Voices echoed closer. At a junction, a beam of light swept across the wall ahead. Guards. Evan pushed Lyra and the carrier into a side passage and stepped out alone. He raised his hands. A weapon aimed at his chest. Then Hale's voice. Evan. The light steadied. Hale stood there, eyes sharp, taking in the tunnel, the hidden passage, the fear on Evan's face. You've been busy, Hale said quietly. Evan did not lie. He stepped aside and revealed them. Lyra stared at Hale, eyes wide, her body shaking. The woman on the carrier lifted her head slightly. For a long moment no one moved. Then Hale lowered his weapon. How long? He asked. Long enough, Evan replied. The station shook again, harder this time. Hale looked up, then back at them. If command finds this, he said, they'll space all of you. He paused, and maybe me too. Evan waited. Hale turned off his light. You have 5 minutes, he said. I didn't see anything. He walked away. Evan did not thank him. They moved faster now. Behind them, alarms rose to a new pitch. The station was breaking, and there was no turning back. The emergency lights washed the tunnels in red. The station no longer tried to hide its pain. Every few seconds, the walls trembled as damaged systems fought to stay alive. Evan led the way, carrying the front of the makeshift carrier. Lyra walked at the back, gripping the cloth with both hands. Her mother drifted in and out of awareness, her breath shallow, her body light as if already letting go. They reached the access route Evan had memorized from old station maps. It was narrow and steep, climbing toward the emergency ring. No one used it anymore. It was too slow for cargo and too unsafe for workers. Now it was their only path. Behind them, voices echoed. Orders shouted. Boots hit metal. They were running out of time. At the top of the climb, they reached a sealed door. The control panel was dark. No power, Lyra whispered in her own language, fear sharp in her voice. Evan dropped the carrier gently and pulled open the panel. He crossed 2 exposed wires with a tool. Sparks jumped. The panel flickered to life. The door opened halfway, then stopped. The station shook hard. A deep alarm began to howl. Reactor failure, the station voice announced. Evacuation protocols engaged. Evan pushed the door with all his strength. It slid open just enough. They squeezed through. The emergency ring was chaos. Smoke filled the air. Lights flashed. People ran in all directions, dragging bags, shouting names. Some cried. Some froze where they stood, unable to move. Evacuation ships lined the bay, small and few. not enough for everyone. Guards tried to control the flow, but fear moved faster than commands. Evan scanned the bay and spotted a ship preparing to launch. Its ramp was still down. A medic stood nearby, shouting for the injured. Evan moved toward it. A hand grabbed his shoulder. He turned to see Hale. "You're cutting it close," Hale said, his voice tight. Hale looked at the carrier, then at the woman lying on it. His jaw clenched. "Get her on," he said. "What about you?" Evan asked. Hale did not answer. They reached the ship. The medic saw the woman's condition and waved them forward. As Lyra and her mother were lifted onto the ramp, a loud crack split the air. A section of the bay ceiling collapsed, sending debris crashing down behind them. The ship's alarm blared. "Launch window closing," the pilot shouted. Lyra turned back, her eyes searching for Evan. He was already stepping away. He looked at the ship, then at the glowing warning lights above the bay doors. If this ship did not leave now, it would not leave at all. He forced a smile. "Go," he said. Lyra shook her head. She ran toward him, grabbing his arm with both hands. "No," she said, the word clear even without shared language. Evan gently pulled free and guided her back toward the ramp. "You stay with her," he said. "She needs you." The station shook again, stronger than before. The lights went out for a heartbeat, then returned dim and uneven. Hale stepped forward and sealed the ramp. Lyra pounded on the metal, screaming. The ship lifted. Evan turned away before he could change his mind. Hale stood beside him, watching the ship disappear into the emergency launch tunnel. "You could have gone," Hale said quietly. "Someone has to open the vent gates," Evan replied. Hale looked at him sharply. "You know what that means?" Evan nodded. They ran toward the control corridor near the reactor feed. The heat grew stronger with every step. The air burned their lungs. At the control panel, warning lights flashed wildly. "Manual vent required," the system displayed. Evan grabbed the handle. Hale caught his arm. "This isn't your job," Hale said. "Someone taught me how," Evan replied. He pulled the handle. Radiation flooded the corridor. Pain slammed into him like a wall, his vision blurred. He tasted metal. The pressure dropped. The alarms changed tone. "Reactor stabilized," the station voice announced. Evan collapsed to the floor. Hale dragged him back, coughing, his own skin burning. Medics reached them moments later, pulling Evan onto a stretcher. As they rushed him away, Evan's eyes drifted shut. The last thing he saw was the bay doors sealing, and the last thing he felt was relief, because somewhere beyond the station, a small ship carried a girl and her mother toward safety, and that was enough. Evan woke to quiet. It was the first thing he noticed. No alarms, no shaking walls, no shouting voices, just a soft hum and steady light above him. He tried to move and pain answered. It spread through his chest and arms, deep and heavy. He let out a breath he did not know he was holding. A face appeared at his side. A medic, human, eyes tired but calm. "Easy," she said. "You're safe." Safe felt like a strange word. She explained slowly. The reactor breach had been contained. Several evacuation ships launched before the bay sealed. Casualties were high, but the station survived. Evan had been pulled from the vent corridor minutes before his exposure would have become fatal. "You were lucky," she said. Evan closed his eyes. Luck had nothing to do with it. Days passed. His body healed, but not fully. Radiation damage left his strength uneven. Some mornings he could sit up without help. Some mornings he could not. Hale visited once. He stood at the foot of the bed, hands behind his back, posture stiff as always. "Command filed it as mechanical failure," Hale said. "No sabotage. No suspects." Evan looked at him, and then he asked. Hale hesitated. "Gone," he said. "Off station. No records." Evan nodded. That was enough. Hale cleared his throat. "You won't be working the docks anymore," he added. "Medical discharge, compensation." "Quiet kind, fine," Evan said. Hale studied him for a long moment. "You did a stupid thing," Hale said. Evan smiled faintly. "Humans do that sometimes." Hale almost smiled back. Evan left the station weeks later on a slow transport bound for a neutral colony. He walked with a slight limp now. His left arm did not lift the way it used to. He carried very little with him. The metal charm Lyra had tried to give him rested in his pocket. She had slipped it there without him noticing some time before the ramp sealed. He did not give it back. Years passed. The frontier changed. Trade routes shifted. Old stations were abandoned. New ones rose in their place. Stories moved faster than ships, carried by travelers, whispered in bars and waiting rooms. There was a story about a man on a dying station, about a human who noticed his food going missing and chose not to be angry, about a child who stole to keep her mother alive, about a species known for fear and force who one time chose something else. Most dismissed it. Stories like that were too soft for space. Then the border crisis came. A mining colony near the outer edge lost power after a chain of solar flares. Life support failed. Evacuation was impossible. Aid ships were days away. The colony sent a distress call into the dark. It was answered within hours. Alien relief vessels arrived first. Sleek, quiet ships bearing symbols no human navy recognized at first. They brought food, medicine, and shield generators strong enough to hold back the storm. They stayed until the colony was stable. Then they left. When questioned, their ambassador gave a simple statement. A debt was owed. Soon after, similar events followed. Human ships received priority aid in contested zones. Human colonies were warned ahead of disasters. Trade offers improved. No treaties were signed. No demands were made. People began to ask why. Evan heard about it on a small agricultural moon where he worked light maintenance. He listened quietly as others argued and guessed. One evening, a message arrived for him. Private transport request. Neutral authority. No explanation. He almost refused. Curiosity won. The ship that arrived was small, unfamiliar. Its interior was warm, the air carrying a faint, clean scent. Evan followed a guide down a curved corridor into a wide chamber filled with soft light. Two figures waited there. One was tall, wrapped in layered fabric, posture formal. The other was smaller, thinner than before but standing straight. Her eyes were brighter now, stronger. Lyra. For a moment, neither moved. Then she crossed the space between them and wrapped her arms around him. Evan froze, then slowly returned the embrace with his good arm. She pulled back and spoke, her words clearer now, shaped by years of learning. "You lived," she said. "So did you," Evan replied. She smiled. The taller figure stepped forward, the ambassador, Lyra's mother. She bowed her head. "Because of you," she said, "my daughter lives. Because of you, my people remember," she explained then. Their kind valued survival above all else. Mercy was rare, trust rarer, but stories changed things. A single act, repeated and shared, became a lesson. Humans feed their enemies, the story said. Humans do not look away from hungry children. Humans remember faces. Evan felt his throat tighten. "I just shared food," he said. The ambassador shook her head. "You chose us," she said, "when choosing us cost you." Lyra stepped closer, holding out the metal charm. "It is yours now," she said. Evan closed his fingers around it. Outside the chamber, ships moved through space, carrying aid, trade, and quiet understanding. No banners were raised, no weapons fired, but something had shifted. And it began with a human who noticed his food was missing and decided to wait.